I'm sure you all know or have read, we are the nation's largest developer of independently owned dollar stores. We do stores all around the world. We've been doing this since 1993, about 24, 25 years now. And what I can tell you is that the industry has never been more exciting than it is right now. We'll get into that in just a couple of minutes. Over the years, I've been here 20 years helping folks develop their stores. And a lot of people want to get into this business. They see the Dollar Trees, they see the Family Dollars, they see the Dollar Generals, and so on. And they're excited, and rightfully so, and they want to be part of it. But of course, you can't buy a Dollar Tree or a Family Dollar or a Dollar General. Those are all corporately owned, and an individual like you or me can't buy one. So for the last 24, 25 years, we've been developing stores just like them for people like us that want to get into the business and have no other way to do so. Um, in that time, we've developed over 4,000 stores, again, nationwide and in locations throughout the world. Uh, and it's a very, very exciting business. What we offer, and I'll get into what we do for just a couple of minutes here. Um, we provide a 100% turnkey opportunity. And what that means is that we do everything that you need to have done and provide everything that you need to have to successfully open your dollar store. And we do several types of stores. We do a dollar only store, which is like a Dollar Tree. We do a dollar plus store, which is like a Family Dollar or a Dollar General. And we do a couple of new formats. We have a 123 store and a 135 store, which are very exciting, both of them. And there's nothing like them in virtually any markets you might be in. So even if you have some competition, the 123 or the 135 store is going to make you different than everybody else. You'll have the best product that sells at $1, and you'll have the best product that sells between $1 and $5. And we'll entertain some questions about that later. We just started doing those last year, and they're gaining in popularity every day. A lot of people that originally considered doing a dollar store, good evening, welcome, are looking now or have done the 123 or the 135 stores, and we're doing very, very well. Um, so again, going back to what we do, it's 100% turnkey opportunity. We provide 7 key services that help you get into business. We provide financing assistance. We provide, excuse me, can you mute your phone? There's a little bit of background noise there. Please mute your phone so everybody can hear. I hear some small children in the background. Thank you. We provide financing assistance, site location assistance. We help you negotiate your lease agreement. Then we arrive on site. We completely set up your store, and we provide all the labor, fixtures, equipment, merchandise, interior signage, and much more. We give you comprehensive training so that we cover every aspect of operating a business and operating a dollar store business. As one of our owners, you become part of our merchandise network. Uh, and with our suppliers, you can save 20 to 25% on merchandise each and every time you order. It's really significant. You're buying like the big chain stores are, and other independents in your market don't have the ability to do that. So it's a huge competitive advantage for you. And then, of course, once you're open, we provide the best long-term support available in any industry. We assign someone to work directly with you for the first 4 months, every day on the phone, helping you place new orders, helping you source new product, getting ready for every season and holiday, and helping you through any operational questions or issues that you might have. After that first 4 months, if we feel and you feel that you've got your arms around the business, then we move you to a long-term coordinator's desk who provides that same support for you for the life of your business. So we never go away. Um, and again, we're not a franchise, so you don't pay us any fees or royalties ever. You pay us one time for the package price of your store, and you can get started with a $500 deposit, which is fully refundable. We'll talk more about that later. I want to remind everybody that because you're participating in the teleseminar tonight, if you do decide to open a store and you put your application in place between now and next Wednesday, you will get $2,000 in additional merchandise free when you open your store. So that's a nice little incentive. If you're thinking about doing this anyway, the next few days would be a great time to get your application and deposit in and see if you can open a store. So talk a little bit more about those different items later, and I know everybody's going to have questions. In site location, we identify every location in your area that fits the size that you're looking for. We provide you with all the information about each one, traffic counts, demographic analysis, a map of the competition, a map of the shopping center population, and so on. We put this all on a website that you'll have access to. You'll be able to see everything about every location we're looking at for you and make comments, get back to us. Then we'll have, if you like a location, we'll have you go out and see it, give us your feedback, and then we'll negotiate on that. And we negotiate usually on a number of locations, not just one, so we can see where the final, good evening, welcome, see where the final numbers end up in terms of the rent and the free rent and how the landlord's going to deliver the space and so on. So when we're done, you'll have several options to look at, and we'll help you weigh one against the other and help you make the best decision for you. Once we're ready to negotiate that lease, we start with a letter of intent and we ask for over 17 key provisions from the landlord. Good evening, welcome. All designed to protect you. Some of those, just as a couple of examples, we make sure that the restroom is compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act, which may not seem like a big deal, but if you rent a space and the restroom is not handicapped accessible, when you go to get your business license, they'll come in and inspect and say, you know, you're going to have to retrofit this bathroom, and that can cost $10,000 or $15,000. You have to put all new fixtures in, move a wall, and so on. So we make sure you're not uh, exposed to that. We also ask for other items such as a dark clause. What is a dark clause, you might ask? Well, that means if there's a large tenant in your center that makes your center attractive, like a grocery store or a Target or some other large retailer, and after you open your store, they go out of business or move. Well, now the shopping center isn't the same center that you signed up for. It doesn't have the same value because now there's not as much traffic there. So we negotiate for you to be able to vacate that location if that happens, or uh, get a severely reduced rent until they put a new tenant in that center. So we protect you that way. Uh, Another key clause that we negotiate for is no relocation. So if you select a location and it's right next to the grocery store and it's a great spot and everybody can see you and walk in your store, the landlord can't come back to you 6 months or a year later and say, you know, Joe, I'm going to move you down to the end of the center because I've got somebody else I want to put in this space. He wants to pay a couple of dollars more a year in rent. So he can't do that. But that does happen, so we protect you from that. Then once your lease is done, we're ready to set up your store. And again, as I said earlier, your price includes all the fixtures, the merchandise, the interior signage, the labor, the freight to get everything. And our crew arrives on site usually on a Monday morning. We receive the store fixtures and equipment. We start setting up the shelving and so forth, put slot wall on all the walls. Our build out supervisor is there to run the show and make sure everything's happening quickly and efficiently. Monday afternoon, the merchandise starts arriving, and our crew again is there. They start receiving it, putting it on display as it comes in. They put in your interior signs. They set up all the cash registers and all the other equipment. Usually, it takes us about 7 days from start to finish to open your store once we arrive. Uh, we do stores every week, and we've been doing this, as I say, for years. We're pretty proficient at it, and we do it quickly and efficiently, so you can get your business open as quickly as possible. Now, before we actually arrive on site to do your build out, we do your training. Good evening, welcome. And the training occurs uh, on the phone and over the internet, and you can do it at your convenience on your timetable. There's several internet modules. They're online. You can access them whenever you want to, and then follow up with your trainer here in the office with questions that you might have. And then there are certain sections that she does live on the phone with you because there's a lot more give and take involved. So training is very intense and exhaustive, but again, we do it at your convenience, and you can always go back to a section, repeat again, do whatever you need to do. Sir, would you please mute your phone until we get to the question and answer part? Thank you. Uh, Whoever's coughing, please mute your phone. Um, then, of course, you're part of the merchandise network. We have over 85 key suppliers located around the country. Uh, the merchandise, ma'am, please mute your phone. Thank you. Thank you. Uh, the key to our merchandise program is value, variety, and new merchandise, and that's what you need to make your store most successful. Now, what does that mean? Uh, Myself and several of our buyers travel to all of our suppliers once every 4 to 6 weeks, and when we go there, we hand select the best new items available. We negotiate the prices on them. If we can get to a price that I believe has real value, then we show those items to you. If we can't get to a price that I believe is a good and fair price and will generate profit and sales for you, you'll never see that item. Um, it's very important. Not only do we evaluate the product, but we evaluate the packaging and the efficiency. Does the item do what it's intended to do? Please mute your phone, sir. So that's how we provide value. We provide variety for your store because, again, we have over 85 suppliers. They're located around the country, and we negotiate freight concessions with them so that if you're in Chicago, for example, and you're an independent owner, most of your competitors can only buy from suppliers in and around Chicago because they can't afford to bring product in from a great distance. It's too expensive. But with our network, if you're in Chicago, you can buy products from suppliers in Texas, in New York and New Jersey, from Los Angeles, and so on. And you'll have items in your store that none of your competitors can even have because they can't afford to get them there. So it's a key advantage to have that variety in your store. And one other thing, very quickly, with regards to variety, most often when you buy merchandise from a wholesaler, you buy it in what's called full cartons. And they're usually packed 72 pieces or 144 pieces of one item. That's a lot of product. If you're buying a feather duster, you really don't want 12 dozen feather dusters sitting around for 2 years while you try to sell them. We negotiated with our suppliers years ago, and in most cases, they will ship what's known as an inner pack. So if you want to buy that feather duster, you don't have to buy 12 dozen. You can buy 12 pieces. So your product turns very quickly, number one. And number two, you can have much more variety because instead of having 11 dozen extra feather dusters, you can have 1 dozen each of 11 other items. It gives you incredible advantage in your store. So that's value. That's variety. Ma'am, please mute your phone if you would. Thank you. And then the third leg of merchandise is new merchandise. And we want to make sure that every time you order, fully half of the orders that you write are for new items, items you've hadn't had in your store before, because you want your customers to come back, and each time you want them to find something new. If you haven't muted your phone, please do so now so everyone can hear. Thank you. So it's very important to always have new products in your store. When I shop in your store, I have a shopping list just like everyone else. And I come in, I want to buy paper towels, I want to buy toilet tissue, I want to buy a couple of snack items, I want to buy shampoo. Those are the items that are on my list. But once I find them, I start to walk around your store and I may see a table runner for my hall table and it's $1 or $2. So I pick it up. And a man-made chamois for my car to wash my car on the weekend. So I buy that. And some toys for my grandkids and I buy those. So now the $8 sale that I intended to have in your store now is 15 or 18 or $20 because now I'm buying items I didn't know I needed, but the value is so good that I have to buy them. So I do. But when I come back next week, I need my paper towels again. I need my toilet tissue. I need the shampoo, but I don't need the table runner. I still have it. I don't need the chamois. I still have it. I still don't need the toys. My grandkids still have them. But now you got to show me something new in home decor or in auto care or in toys, and now I'm a customer again. And that's why the new goods are so important. They build your average sale and they build your profit. And we work with you each week through your merchandise coordinator here in our office. You'll see hundreds of new items from our office and from our suppliers, and your contact person here in our office will help you pick the best ones for your store every week. Uh, Buying within our network saves you 20 to 25% on the cost of your product. So, as an example, if you were to buy $500,000 in merchandise next year for your store, you're going to save $100,000. That goes right to the bottom line, $100,000 just by being part of our network. So it's incredibly important. And of course, we talked about the long-term support that you get, the assistance in helping you get ready for every season and holiday, tracking your sales by category, helping you to grow your business once you're open, all the things that we do after you're open, which is really where our hard work starts. We don't want to open your store, just open your store. We want to have your store be as successful as possible, and merchandise and support is the key to that, and that's what we provide. Um, let's take a couple of minutes, and we'll have time for questions about all those items, and I appreciate you bearing with me. Let's take a few minutes, if we can, and talk about some things that are happening in the industry right now. just coming out of the pandemic, it was a pretty rough year for lots of people, uh, ourselves included. Um, but one positive thing that did come out of it for our business is that more and more people than ever before shop dollar stores. Why did they do that? They did that because they were looking for items they couldn't find in their grocery store. They couldn't find paper products. They couldn't find masks. They couldn't find sanitizer. Good evening, welcome. They couldn't find all the items that are most important to them, cleaning supplies. Uh, but the dollar stores had them. So while many people shop dollar stores, it's amazing that the numbers are 77% of people shop dollar stores at least once or twice a month. That was before last year. Now, people that never shop dollar stores now are because when they went to them, kind of out of desperation, they found the products that they wanted. They found great values on those items and hundreds of other items. So they become dedicated dollar store shoppers. There was a survey that was done about a month ago, and they surveyed people and they asked about their how they shop, why they shop, where they shop, and so on. And 70 some percent of the people who were surveyed first said that they felt that their grocery store price gouged them. They felt that during the pandemic, they unnecessarily raised prices because they thought they could, and people felt taken advantage of. The second thing that they asked them was, what's most important to you when you shop? And they said the two most important things are price, which you would expect, and convenience. People don't want to stand in long lines. They don't want to walk across parking lots to get to a store. And what do the dollar stores provide? They provide value. They provide the lowest possible prices on everything that they carry, and they provide convenience. You can get in and out of your dollar store in 15 minutes, buy all the items that you need, then go to the grocery store to fill out your shopping list. Dollar stores are more popular now than ever. For the second quarter of last year, which was right in the height of the pandemic, if you recall, um, Dollar General posted the largest sales increase in the history of their company. They're up over 22% from the previous year because people had to shop there. Uh, Now, what's going on now? Um, Unemployment is down. People are getting jobs. They're going back to work. Consumer spending has been up the last 2, 3 months. Virtually every state is opening up now. The stimulus checks are out. There's an article in the Wall Street Journal. Good evening, welcome. There's an article in the Wall Street Journal 2 weeks ago that said, as a nation, consumers are sitting on over $1 trillion in stimulus funds that they haven't spent yet, and they're ready to go out and spend them. So let's get our share. The other positive thing that's happened for dollar stores is that because so many businesses that were on the margins over the last year just unfortunately could not survive, and we all know those businesses sadly. What that has done, though, is it opened up many more locations that are available for businesses that can do well, like dollar stores. Landlords have spaces for lease, they're prime locations, and these landlords are anxious to refill their centers. They need tenants, they need quality tenants, and they know the dollar store business is very resilient. When a lot of businesses had to close last year, dollar stores did not. So it's a great opportunity, great locations, rental rates are low, the landlords want you as a tenant, and that's those are some of the things that are happening in our industry right now. The dollar plus type stores I mentioned is growing. Dollar Tree even now is is launching a model store. It's called Dollar Tree 2.0, and they're testing them in a number of different markets. And what they are dollar plus stores because they can see the future. They're a little late to the table. We've been doing this for years, but still, it kind of tells you that even the big guys understand that um, the dollar plus gives you the ability to offer much more product to your customers, much more value, and a wider range of products. So those are things we'll all want to talk about. And with all that said, what I would like to do now is kind of open it up to questions. I would ask you when you have a question, please unmute your phone. And I would ask us all just to be considerate of everybody else because everybody is going to want to talk. So just be courteous, wait your turn. I promise I will get to everybody. So if you'd like to throw some questions my way, I'm ready.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you able to sell things like beer and cigarettes at these stores?
Yes. In fact, what we do, if we know you want to do that, we have no restrictions on our side at all. You can sell beer, wine, tobacco. You can do lottery tickets. Uh, a lot of our stores, once they're open, decide they want to apply to participate in the EBT program, the food stamp program. We help them make those applications, and we know what's required. Um, all we need to know is when we start to go to work in site location for you, if that's something that you would like to do or maybe want to do in the future, I just have to make sure that when we negotiate your use clause in your lease that we incorporate those items into it. So even if you don't do it initially, you have the ability to do it and the landlord can't give it to somebody else. But yeah, absolutely. No restrictions on what you can put in your store on our side. Next question?
Yes, is there a down payment that we have to put down when we first open up, or do they just financially cover us 100% and then we make like monthly payments with a
Okay,
certain interest rate?
sure. Very good question. The way
Yeah.
our program works is the first thing we need to do is have you do an application and a $500 deposit, which is fully refundable. What that does is that lets us get you into our finance office, and they can tell you within 48 hours uh, what type of financing you qualify for, excuse me, and how much financing. If at that point you like the terms and you like the conditions of the loan program that's presented to you, and we have many different ones, different lenders that can address different credit profiles. But once we present that to you, if you like it, then we move you right into real estate, start looking at locations. To answer your question, the financing is third party. It's not through us. But yeah, you would make monthly payments once you're open. You would pay us from the money you get from the lender 100%, and then you pay back that loan directly to the lender.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And most often, our lenders can provide you with 100% financing, including working capital, so you may not have to come out of pocket for anything. Every program is different, but often that's the case.
I have a
Yes.
I
question.
have a question.
Oh, gentleman was there first.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm wondering, if what does your credit rating need to be, number one? And number two, you said you could do a loan through you and then go to a third party. But what if we do the loan through you and the third party doesn't take the loan? Then we just owe you and we don't have a store, right? Or no?
No, it's never through us. If I said that, I apologize. I didn't make it clear. It's always through a third-party lender. But we have
And the
lenders.
credit rating?
Uh, it varies quite a bit because it's not only about the number; it's about the depth of the credit. And financing isn't my area of expertise, I guess you might say. I know if you're in the low to mid 700s, odds are better than really good that you can get financing. If you're a little bit lower than that, one or two of our lenders have programs where they can do credit repair. They do charge for it, but it's a very nominal fee to do that. And you know, if you have some lates or things like that, they can usually clean them up for you. In fact, over the last number of months, I've seen them even have the ability to remove bankruptcies in many situations, which is unheard of just a year or so ago. So yeah, here's what I always tell people: never assume that you cannot get financing. Um, it's pretty painless to fill out the app and the deposit, and within 48 hours you'll know what you can do, what the terms are, and so on. You'd be amazed at how many people over the 20 years I've been here that said, you know, John, I don't think, you know, my credit's not great. It's a little bumpy. Uh, you know, I'd love to do this. I don't think I can get financing, and you know, now they're sitting in a store. So you know, I would say if you want to take a run at it, do that. You'll know very quickly if it can work for you right now or not.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. You had a question?
Yes, I do. So you mentioned that the first 4 months you have an assistant to help you along with all the details of running the store operation. And then there's also someone that is, I guess, a consultant for the life of the store you have. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes, that's correct. In fact, the way that works
So how is that? How
yes.
does that pay? How is that paid, or is that just included in the initial cost of the
It,
store? Or
it's
can you?
included. It's included in the package price of your store. You never pay us again. It's just part of
Okay.
the benefits that you buy. And what we do is that first person for the first 4 months, as I say, they're on the phone with you almost every day, uh,
Mhm.
helping you write replenishment orders because it can be a little disconcerting in the early weeks. So they'll help you write replacement orders, and again help you get ready for every season and holiday. Make sure your goods are on order early, that they get to the store at the right time. Uh, you get a
Mhm.
complete set of interior signage too for every day, dollar themed, and also for every season and holiday. And we give you a schedule that says when those signs should go up for Halloween and Christmas and so on. Um, and that person coordinates all that with you. After that first 4 months, if if we feel if after that first 4 months, if we feel and you feel that you've got your arms around the store, then we move your store
Mhm.
to that long-term coordinator's desk, and that person continues to provide that same support, a little bit less intense. She may reach out to you, or he might reach out to you a couple of times a week, but they're always available to you. Anytime you need them, you just pick up the phone. And that person,
This is a lifelong relationship.
absolutely, you're stuck with us. I'm sorry. Uh, and the other thing I would say about that person, and I often forget to mention this, is that they can be such a key advantage for you, especially in the latter part of the year. Now, the period between Halloween and Christmas, that last 3 months of the year,
Mhm.
I always call the golden quarter because that's when you do so much of your business. Business really speeds up. And
Mhm.
between Thanksgiving and Christmas, every day is like 3 days any other time of the year because the business is so fast and so many people are coming into your store. So it's critical that you're not out of any key items because if you're out of an item for a day, it's like you're out of it for 3 days or 6 days. You don't want that. So
Mhm.
here's an example that I always use, and this happened. I owned my own stores many years ago, and this happened to me my first Thanksgiving. I had my store, I thought, really stocked up. I was feeling pretty good about things, and um, the day after Thanksgiving, the busiest retail of the year, that whole weekend, I did pretty good business on Friday. Saturday, the doors got blown off. I mean, and I walked into that store Sunday night, and I had empty pegs and empty shelves, and I said, "Oh my Lord, what am I going to do?" Uh, so I'm on the phone first thing Monday morning at the crack of dawn, trying to find tissue paper and Christmas gift bags and stocking stuffers and you name it. Um, so you
Mhm.
don't have to do that. If you walk into your store the Monday after Thanksgiving and you say, I need red and green tissue paper and I need medium-sized
Mhm.
Christmas gift bags and I need Scotch tape and I need 24 count crayons for stocking stuffers, whatever those things are, you don't have to go through all the suppliers' websites and try and figure out who's in stock on what so you can put an order together. You call your rep here in her office and
Mhm.
you say, Susie, I need these 6 items. Who has them? And she'll have a list of those most critical items sitting right on her desk and who's in stock on what. And in minutes, she's
Mhm.
going to say, yep, supplier B has all of that. Let's put an order together and get it out now. So they are like a
That's
key
great.
resource for you.
That's great. Thank
So
you.
you're very welcome. Next question.
I
Yes,
have a
I have
question.
two quick questions.
I have.
Go ahead. Someone is already speaking. You go ahead and finish.
Um. Oh,
Yes.
Is it
what
her or
is the bottom
myself?
line? Oh,
Okay. In
Oh, you
terms of,
can go first, miss.
no, you can't. I wait. I wait.
oh,
Are you sure?
let's not fight amongst ourselves.
Oh, okay. Well, I have
I'm only kidding.
two quick questions.
Yes, go ahead.
So my first one is, do you provide cleaning services for the store, or do we hire outsiders?
We don't provide it. You would hire it, and sometimes your staff can do a lot of the light cleaning. And really, what you need is someone to come in, every few months, and maybe buff the floors if you have tile, or shampoo it if you have carpet. But it's really not a big issue. But yeah, it's something that you would be responsible for.
Okay, my last question. Would you be able to give us an estimate amount on how much the owner would make monthly?
Sure. I can give you some broad strokes. Obviously, there's a lot of variables that we don't know. For instance, the size of the store, um, where it is.
I'm considering 1,000 square foot.
Okay. Okay, so let's take that 1,000 square foot store. And say you're going to do a dollar plus store. So in a dollar
Yes.
plus store, the the uh, the cost of goods is about 50% of retail. So for every dollar you sell, it costs you 50 cents in merchandise cost to do that. So your gross margin on product is 50%. Um, Dollar General, Dollar General last year reported sales of $237 a square foot um, annually. Dollar Tree reported, I think, about 195. So let's go under that a little bit. Even though I know that smaller stores tend to have larger sales per foot numbers because the merchandise is more densely packed into them. So let's take that. Let's say let's use $180 a square foot and 1,000 square feet. That means you would do in sales theoretically, and again, we were just talking numbers here, about $180,000 a year, and your profit, your gross profit on that would be $90,000, and then out of that 90,000, you would have to pay your rent, some utilities, and a little bit of labor, not very much, because most often the owners work the stores themselves. It takes about 80 work hours to staff a 1,000 square foot store, and if you work 40 or 45 of them, you only have to pay, about 30 hours a week in part-time labor, so it's a minimal cost. Um, so that's about what you'd be looking at. What we do, because obviously that's a big question, why go into business if you don't know if you're going to make any money? Um, what we
Right,
do,
right.
what we do is once you're in real estate, and as we identify locations that we like, and then of course that you like, and we get to the final economics, so to speak. We've negotiated the rent. We know what it's going to be. Um, we know how much free rent you're going to get, and we also can look at the overall picture. Who are your competitors? How close are they? Um, how busy is the center? We know a lot of things at that point that we don't know tonight. So then what I can do with you, and I always do this, we kind of sit down and we put together a worksheet and we kind of estimate what that store's potential could be. We can put a pretty good point on the sales because now we know everything there is to know about the location. We know what the merchandise cost is. The other big number is the rent, and we know what that is. Uh, and so we kind of put together a spreadsheet that for 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years. And again, it's not a guarantee, but it can be a pretty good roadmap to what that store could potentially do for you before you ever sign the lease,
Oh,
so that you're comfortable.
okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Good questions. Next question.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Listen, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
How many stores can you open at one time?
As an owner,
Yes.
um, we normally, well, I'll open as many as you want. Let me say, let me say that. I will get it done for you. Most owners that want to do multiple stores typically will do or look for locations for two at a time,
Yes.
because that's most manageable for them if they want to do more than one. We have
Mhm.
no limits on what you might decide to do, and certainly we can execute whatever you ask us to do. Because whether we're doing 5 stores for 5 different people or 5 stores for one person, the work is the same on our side. We just have to find the location. So, um,
Okay.
but most often, as a practical matter, it's a good idea to do just a couple at a time for a few
Yes.
reasons. One, you want to make sure you're really comfortable with the business. You
Mhm.
have your arms around it. You really can control the business. Because what you might find, and this happens often with individuals that do second or third stores, they often find out that the size store that they targeted initially is too small.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
people want to be conservative. My first store, the first store I ever did, was I think 2,200 square feet, something like that. And I was open a short period of time, and I knew that I wasn't in the right size box. So
Okay. So you
yeah, I
went
ended up doing.
retired.
Yeah, exactly. I said, gee, I can put more in a little bit larger store. That's not to say that a
Mhm.
1,000 or 1,500 or 2,000 square foot store is not a good size, because no matter what size store somebody wants to develop, they all work very well in the right environment, in the right situation. So we work very hard. So if you're in LA and you want to do 1,000 square foot store, there's probably 100 locations we can find this week where that 1,000 square foot store would do gangbusters. But
Okay.
yeah, so there's no limitation. There's no perfect size. There's only the size that works for you.
And then the other question I have is this, how is the taxes, how am I being taxed? Am I being taxed as a sole proprietor, a LLC? What's
It,
that about?
okay, it really depends on how you form your business. You know, it can be an LLC. It can be a single proprietor. Um, and that determines uh, how
So
you're taxed.
wouldn't we be under the Dollar Tree or the Dollar General? Are they LLCs, or how would we be taxed
No,
kind of like as a franchise, or no?
no, you wouldn't be part of Dollar General, Dollar Tree. Obviously, they're corporate stores, and you can't be one of those. Um,
Hmm.
you would be taxed as an individual or an LLC.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and those specific questions are probably better asked of an accountant than me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put my financial future in terms of accounting capability in my hands. I'll tell you that. But
Okay. So
but
basically,
yeah, it depends.
once I start this, then I'm actually doing the same thing I would do with any other business. Is report it to the state. I get my own EIN number and all that stuff as well.
Yes, yeah, you're way ahead of the curve. Yeah, you apply for your EIN number for your federal taxes. You apply for your state sales tax ID number, and depending on the state,
Mhm.
normally the sales tax you remit monthly or quarterly, um, and of
You
course
broke
federal
up.
taxes.
You
We
broke
didn't
up.
hear
I
that.
didn't.
Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
broke up.
I'm sorry. You as you said, you get an EIN number for your federal taxes, and then you apply to the state for a state sales tax ID number, so you can collect and give your sales tax back to the governor. Uh,
Okay.
and that's pretty much it. At the end of the year, whoever does your counting and your taxes with you will do your business tax return, and then you have
Well,
your
I'm
separate
a
personal
accountant.
return.
I'm in accounting, so I do
Ah,
my own. But I was just asking because I got a small business aside as well. So I
I
was just wondering, do I do that all of that footwork? But by being a Dollar Tree or a Dollar General, I thought it was like a franchise type thing. So now I do my own legwork on doing that, or get someone else to walk me through uh, or that with the dollar store corporate, or just think of it as my own and say, hey, this is what I'm opening, this is what I'm investing in, and this is the steps that I need to take on my own.
that is yeah that last option is the correct. And keep in
Okay.
mind we're not a franchise, so you never pay us any.
Yeah.
We never,
So
you
we
never.
don't have to pay any fees or anything like that to you
No,
guys.
no, at all. One time. You pay us just for the package price, whatever size store you develop, and that is it. You can send me a Christmas
Okay.
card if you want, but that's it.
Oh, I sure will.
Thank you very much for your
Then
question.
I'm sorry, everyone, but I got one more question.
All right.
Oh
When
my.
we're getting a loan, um, is a down payment is required? What if we were to put down, I'm saying we, but what if I was to put down half of what the cost is to open the store? And
They,
then I get the loan for the remainder. Can we do that?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And
Okay.
a lot of times, yeah, a lot of times owners will come in and say the price of the store, just to use round numbers, is
Mhm.
$100,000, and they have 50,000 either in cash or cash and maybe some stocks or bonds
Mhm.
or whatever. Yeah, then they just need financing for the difference.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Sorry, everyone.
thank you very much for your questions.
You're welcome.
I have a
Next one back?
question.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
So, what is the price of opening up a store? I'm sorry, I got in a little late, so I apologize if I
Oh,
missed it.
no, no worries. Um, it's depending on the store size and type that you ultimately choose. For example, um, a dollar only store where everything is $1 at 1,000 square feet starts at 76,900. 1,000 square foot dollar
I can't
plus.
hear anything.
I'm sorry, is this better? Is this
Yeah,
better?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I moved away from the speaker for a second. A dollar only store, 1,000 square feet, starts at 76,900. A dollar plus store at 1,000 square feet starts at 78,900. And the only difference is that there's a little more inventory dollars in the dollar plus store. So,
So,
and then they go on up based on size.
okay.
Okay.
So
And
my next question is, say the credit and everything is good, and how much are they asking down in order
uh,
to get started?
there would be nothing down at all. You just get a loan for the amount of money that you need, and
Hmm.
then you just make monthly payments.
To you or the?
To whoever the lender is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
the only thing you would need to pay to us to get
so,
started is the $500 application fee, which is fully refundable.
okay, very good.
And you
All right,
never.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello,
I have
I
a
have a
Okay.
question.
question.
I have
Yes,
another
sir.
question.
Oh wait, was there a gentleman there? I want to
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
thank you.
There's a
I want to be
gentleman
gender
over
Well,
neutral.
well, being that I'm
Hello?
the only gentleman here,
No, I'm here
what?
in the line.
Yeah, yeah. What size I'm just kidding. What size store do you need to have in order to have a freezer section? What's the
You can
smallest you can have?
you can add a freezer section at any size. I I normally, unless you're in a rural area where you can provide a lot of food type needs for people in your area, I really don't recommend one less than 3,000 square feet because you're not going to generate enough volume or traffic to justify that investment. And
I think
with frozen product, there's virtually no profit in it. If you want to get into that, you're actually better off doing fresh product and doing the EBT program, the food stamp program. And
yeah.
to do that, you don't need any frozen. You need a few dairy items, a few meat items, some grain items, bread, rolls like that. And as part of our program, first your store has to be open to apply to participate in the EBT program. And the requirements, as I say, are pretty simple. You do have to be open, and our trainer can walk you through that whole process because lots of our stores do that.
More than willing.
Okay, very good.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I have a question like, what about if I wish to get the security system? Does it come with the package price? Like the
Security.
camera and everything?
It
Yeah.
does not come with the package because a lot of people don't get it, but we have a couple of sources that can provide it to you very inexpensively and actually install it for you.
All right. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
I
So
What was
have
his
one.
question? What was
I
his
have
question?
he wanted to
training.
know if we provided a security system, a camera system in the store package, and we do not, but we do have a supplier that can provide one very inexpensively and install it as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
You have
Question.
a question?
go ahead.
With the training?
Yes,
Okay.
good evening. My question is, why the frozen products is not so successful?
It's not that it's not successful. It's more that the cost is so high that you can't make any money
Okay.
selling it. There's two
Oh,
issues, and I'll give you an example. I had it in a couple of my own stores many years ago, and I learned two things. One, I made 5, 6 cents when I sold an item. That was one. The other thing was
okay.
you had to buy it in very large quantities. So you had to buy, for example, and you still do, the minimum of a pallet full of assorted frozen product. And you have to have a place to keep it because
Okay.
you can't put it in one or two or three freezer doors. So you got to have some off-site storage for frozen. You got to pay for that. It's just a money-losing proposition, quite honestly. Dollar Tree can do
Okay.
it because they bring the product refrigerated in their own trucks from their own distribution centers, and the store can take just what it needs. But as an independent, that's
Okay.
one thing you don't have the luxury of doing.
Okay. What did you say about 5 and 6? What I missed out on that.
5 or 6 cents would be your profit
Wow.
on a
Okay.
dollar.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're very welcome. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to know, does the structure of the store has have to be the same as every other store, or can you customize it yourself? And also, can you utilize other vendors as well?
Two good questions. First, no, you can customize the store any way you choose, both in terms of the layout, number one, and number two. And the second part of that question, first part of the second part of the question, is a really good one. In terms of the merchandise, we don't take, I guess, a cookie cutter approach to the merchandise. Every new store setup orders is customized for that store, and the way that works is when we're ready to open your store, now we know everything about the location. We know the competition. We know who the other tenants are in the center. We know the demographics and the ethnicity and everything there is to know. And your merchandise manager is going to have that information in front of her. So she'll know a lot about that location. Then she'll get on the phone with you and she'll talk to you and she'll talk through the different merchandise categories and get your input as to maybe there's some categories that you believe you want to more fully develop because of your knowledge of the area. Maybe there's some high schools nearby, and or maybe there's a senior citizens community close by, and all those things will factor into what the merchandise mix looks like. So she'll have that conversation with you. She'll get all the input that you can provide to her. Then she'll sit down and she'll write a recommended set of opening orders specifically for your store. Then she'll send them to you, and you and she will review them, and you'll have full authority. It's your store. You'll have full authority to make any changes that you want to make, additions, deletions, whatever those things might be. So when we're done, you know exactly what's going into your store, and then we finalize the orders and get ready to have them shipped. Um, and the second part of your question was, can you buy from any suppliers that you choose? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and the answer is yes. There's no limitation on who you can buy from or what you can buy. There's no requirement that you buy from any of our suppliers after you're open. You know, the initial orders are going to come from them, of course. But after that, you can buy from whomever you choose. I know most often you're going to use the suppliers in our network to a pretty large extent because the pricing is so favorable for you. But no, you can buy from whoever you choose. A lot of times stores will develop product lines that are unique to their area, whether it's locally made product or maybe ethnic food product or whatever those things might be. You may find that the party supplies are a great category in your store, and that's often the case. So you may want to expand those and find some local suppliers for things like pinatas, for example, and things of that nature. Yeah, no limitations at all on what you can do. It's 100% your store.
Okay, I have
Thank
a question.
Yes, ma'am.
From the moment that we hang up the phone and we finish with this uh Zoom meeting,
Hmm.
then what is the next step? Where do we find the application? Where do we pay the deposit, the $500 deposit? How do we move forward?
Okay, good question. Um, you can call your representative in the morning, or I can have him call you. They can do the application over the phone. It takes about 5 minutes, and we can get started for you.
Okay.
What was your name? I can do that if you would like.
I'm Yvette. Yvette
Okay,
Hughes.
Yvette Hughes. What I will do, Yvette, is I'll have your sales rep call you first thing in the morning, and we'll get
And I
that
have another
started for you.
question.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay.
So you said that we can pretty much have anything in our store. So what if you have uh, like a boutique, for example, and you want to incorporate that into the store? Could you bring your clothing into that store and sell
Sure.
that
Absolutely.
as
Yeah. Absolutely. When I design the store, say
whatever
you.
hair supplies and and
Yeah.
and like um, all of that stuff, wigs, weaves, things like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What we would do is when we negotiated for your location, we just make sure that those items are in your use clause, so the landlord's okay with you selling them, and usually it's never an issue. And then when I design the store, say you were going to do a 1,500 square foot dollar store, we look for spaces for example of about 2,000 square feet. So we do 1,500 square feet of dollar plus, and we'd set aside 500 square feet or whatever you would need for your other lines of merchandise. For sure, easily done.
Hi, I
Wow.
joined
I
in
have
a
a
little
question.
late.
How I have a question. Do
Yes,
you
go
guys
ahead.
have vendors for the cigarettes and beer and wine, or no?
We have to. What we have to do is those are all local distributors because it's controlled. You know, they're controlled items. They're controlled by the state typically. But we can make those relationships for you in whatever market you're in.
At a
We'll find the
discounted price as
suppliers.
well?
Um, those prices are kind of set within the market that we can't control, but we can certainly create the relationships for you with those suppliers.
Okay, thanks.
You bet. There's
I
a
have a
gentleman.
Question again.
to the training.
Yes.
Will we be taught any type of like technical programs like QuickBook or Business Pro, things that will help us with forecasting and doing our budget and inventory and things of that nature? Or is it something that we would just, for some people they may not have that.
Yeah.
So
We
if they
don't do
access
it. We don't do that formally in training. However, I know our trainer is very familiar with QuickBooks and some of those other programs, and I think she could probably give you a pretty good level of assistance with that.
Okay, just one.
Was there a gentleman?
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. The second to last lady that just asked a question, if you incorporate your business. I missed out on the little part where the question was asked, where you mentioned about the square feet. Do you need like extra X amount of square feet
No.
if you're going to incorporate?
No, what it would be is if you had an existing business, like say, you rented those bounce houses on the weekend for children's birthday parties, and you wanted to incorporate that into your dollar store, have a little corner where you could show photos and so forth. That's a really bad example, but it's the one I thought of. What we would do is help you set aside an area within the store for that. Or a better example would be, say you do gift baskets, you know, and you want to promote them in your store. You create gift baskets for Mother's Day and things. And you say, yeah, I want to have that in my store too. So we'll create a space for you to do that within your dollar store so you can do both businesses.
Okay.
Easy.
Awesome. Thank you.
Very welcome. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Sir. Thank you. I wanted to go back to the cash. I noticed you said a cash register comes with the package, or is it a POS that comes with?
It's actually an electronic cash register, which will track your sales by department, not by item. And I'll explain why that is, because it's a good question. For many years, we used a point-of-sale system certainly in our Dollar Plus stores. And what we found over time is that the owner's feedback to us was that if you were on early in the call, we talked about how important it is to have new merchandise coming into your store all the time so that your store is always new and different. What the owners found was that they were spending more time creating the data files for all these items and collecting the information, knowing that they were never going to rebuy those items. So it became a job unto itself. So what we do is we track your sales with you by category. We know where your sales are coming from. And you have a list of the basic items that you're always going to rebuy, the consumables and so on. And then your merchandise coordinator here will know that, if you're doing 10% of your total sales in hardware, that every time you rebuy merchandise, 10% of it should be hardware. And you look at the new items in hardware, you reorder the basics that you know you need, like a hammer, a screwdriver, and pliers, and whatever. And very easily done and maintained. So we got away from the POS because our owner said, we don't want it.
And then I have another question, which is, once the store is up and running, what happens if we run into a situation where we become under capital, like we don't have enough capital to sustain us within that first 6 to 12-month period?
That's something that almost never happens because keep in mind there's a couple of things at play there. One, when you first open, we will have negotiated a number of months of free rent for you. So you're not paying
Oh,
rent for the first 3, 4, 5 months sometimes. Uh, the minimum
okay.
we've ever seen is 2 or 3 months. So it gives you the opportunity to get off the ground without having to pay rent initially.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and then you're really just you're replacing merchandise as it sells. And I always recommend that you buy a little bit more than you sold. So if you sold, just to use easy numbers, if you sold $500 in merchandise at cost this week, you should place orders for like $600 or $700 at cost to come in next week. So what you're doing is you're replacing what you sold and building your inventory a little bit. Uh, so you're
Okay.
always, and if we train our store owners to place orders every week, so you're buying small orders very often. Uh, I've never been a believer in having a lot of goods in the stock room. They have a tendency to get lost or forgotten. The only thing that you really ever go into your back room are some bulky items like paper towels, toilet tissue, things of that nature, some household cleaners maybe. But when you place an order and it comes in, 95% of that order should go right on the shelves. So you're only handling the merchandise twice. Once when you put it on the shelf, once when you send it out the door with the customer. Um,
And the items that are shipped, you said you have 83 some, if I heard you correctly,
yeah,
like
85.
83 locations. Okay. And so typically it's about a 50% markup. So what I wanted to find out is there a shipping fee then on top of that? Is that why perhaps some of the dollar stores end up, mom and pop dollar stores, having to pay a little bit more?
Yeah.
Charge a little.
There is freight. That's a very good question. Uh, we negotiate with most of our big suppliers, the ones where you would buy large quantities of goods from, freight caps. So your freight may be capped at 7% or 8% of cost. So if you have an item that costs 60 cents and your freight is 7%, that adds another 4 cents to that item. So it's delivered at your doorstep at a cost of 64 cents with the freight in it. So freight it's a factor, it's minimal, and we work very hard in training to show you how to write economical orders. Um, a lot of times you'll get a freight rate based on a pallet. So what we try and do is balance that pallet. So just as a quick example, you really don't want to buy a pallet of just gallons of bleach because it's very heavy. There's not a lot of gallons that fit on a pallet, so your freight is going to be very high. But if you buy half a pallet of gallons of bleach and add to that pallet some gift bags, some costume jewelry, some other things that are small and dense, so you have many more pieces, then the average cost of freight for all those items becomes very low. So we work very hard in training to get our owners to write those balanced orders because it's very important. It's a very good question.
And how does
I have a question. I have a
Zoom?
fleet of box trucks, so would I be able to pick up my own?
Ma'am, wait a minute. I think there's a follow-up question first.
I said
Thank you.
I have a fleet of box trucks, so I was wondering, would I be able to pick up my own merchandise?
It depends on where you are and how far the supplier is. You certainly can, if it makes sense for you to do that, sure.
Okay, I'm saying, and is there still a charge, or how does that?
No, if you
How
picked
would it
up
work?
yourself, there'd be no charge for the freight.
Okay, great.
Very good. I'm sorry, I think somebody had a follow-up question just prior to that.
I did. I'm trying to remember what
I'm very sorry.
I lost my train of thought. I'll come back.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
You stated that
What are the hours of operation?
Hold on. Someone who's already asking a question, so hold off for a minute on the hours. Go ahead.
You stated that the cash register comes with the package. Do the buggies come with the package as well?
Yes, yeah. Shopping carts, customer tote basket, all of that. Yeah, it's all included.
Okay.
Yes,
and
go ahead.
that's within $66,000 that we're paying, or
Yeah,
is that
or-
within the $500?
Yeah, it's within the 76.9 or whatever the package price is for the store size you ultimately develop.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Yes, next question.
Hours of operation?
Okay, good question. Most often, you're going to want to mirror the hours of the shopping center where your store is going to be. and typically it's like 8 or 9 in the morning to 8 or 9 at night, Monday through Saturday. Sundays are typically shorter days, like 9 to 5, 10 to 6, something like that. And what I always recommend that store owners do is once you're open, um, you take register readings every hour for the first several weeks to kind of see where you're doing your business. And you may find that you're doing a lot of business between 8 and 9 in the morning and nothing between 8 and 9 at night. So maybe decide to open a little bit earlier and close a little bit earlier, or the reverse. If you're not doing anything early in the morning, but you're really busy when you're closing at 9 or 8, maybe you want to stay a little bit later, so push your hours. So the customers are going to tell you ultimately what those hours should be.
Right. But if you're working and you're selling alcohol and things of that nature and business comes in later, is that okay?
Sure.
That you stay open later hours?
Yeah, there's no limitation on hours. Some shopping centers will have a requirement that you stay open minimum hours, but there's no maximum. Yeah, so if you find your business is important to you later in the day, absolutely stay open later.
I have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Would it be a good idea for us to accept EBT to increase our revenue?
Yes, absolutely. And you might have missed that if you weren't on earlier, but uh, a lot of our stores do that. You do have to be open for business before you can apply to be in that program. But our trainer can walk you through that process, how to make the application, what you need to have to be in that program. And it's a pretty low bar to get over. You need a few dairy items, a few meat items, which can be like packaged lunch meats. Um, and a few bread items, grain items. So it's like bread, rolls, English muffins, whatever. And then once you're approved, your customers can use that EBT card to shop virtually everything in your store, except I think for alcohol and tobacco if you have them. So it's a great program to be in. Yeah, and a lot of our stores do go that route.
Could you share a little bit about the training? How does that work? Is
Okay.
it online or on the phone?
It's actually both. Before COVID, we used to do training here in our office. We have a classroom here, but we always did online and phone training as well. We've been doing that for like 15 years now, I think, and it's every bit as effective as the classroom training. And actually, it's a little bit more effective because you can do it at your leisure. You don't have to sit in a classroom for 9 hours a day try and stay awake. Uh, you can do it online at your leisure. So the way it's set up, a lot of the training modules are online. We give you a login and a password, so you can do them at your convenience. As you finish one or two, if you have questions, you just call our trainer the next morning or whatever. Say, hey, I don't quite understand this. Can we go through it? And of course, we will do that with you. And then there are a few components that we like to do live on the phone, especially when we review the merchandise suppliers and who's best for what types of product. That we like to do live because there's a lot of information. It's kind of hard, and it's different in different areas. You're going to use, if you're in New York and New Jersey, you're going to use probably some suppliers that are different from somebody that's in LA. So we like to customize that piece of it for each owner. But that's basically how it works. And you always have access to that online training and, of course, to your trainer as well. So maybe you're open for 6 months and decide, well, now I want to do that EBT thing. Call your trainer here. She'll walk you through that. Or maybe you have some new employees and you want to review the human resources part of training. It's still online for you. Just take advantage of it. So.
And where was the training at in person?
म्यूट हटाना होता है ना पहले आवाज ही नहीं निकल रही.
What's the address?
Address of?
You said there used to be training in the office.
Yeah.
Where is the office?
We're located in Las Vegas, Nevada.
What's the address?
The address is 4505 West Hacienda, Las Vegas, Nevada 89118. But we don't do the live training anymore because of COVID. We're not permitted to.
Is there a suite number? Or
is there what?
Just a building?
Okay.
Is it a unit number or is it just a building?
Yeah, it's actually L-1. I'm sorry, I forgot that. Are you coming
Quick
to see us?
question now.
Are you going to come
Hello?
see us? I'm excited.
Yeah, but can you take my question now, please?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Question, let's say you have this business for 6 months and you realize that it's not working out for you. So how to get out of it? Can you return the merchandise to the vendors, and is there's a process to getting out of it, or you're very optimistic in all this that it doesn't happen?
Does it happen? It's extremely rare. But I guess if it did happen, if there's something that happened to cause the business not to do well all of a sudden, uh, first answer is no. You cannot return the merchandise to the vendors. Once you buy it, you own it. So I guess the options would be in that instance to advertise the business for sale, uh, or failing that, negotiate with the landlord to step out of the lease and liquidate the merchandise and the equipment. But it's something that very rarely presents itself, at least in my experience.
And also, I know I joined in a little late. I also heard Dollar Press, Dollar Tree, Dollar General. What is the real difference between a dollar versus a Dollar Tree, or a Dollar Plus versus a Dollar Tree?
Okay. Well, first, I just want to reiterate, we are not Dollar Tree or Family Dollar or Dollar General. People sometimes uh, have that misconception, so I like to clear it up. Those stores are all corporately owned stores. An individual like you or me cannot own a Dollar Tree or a Family Dollar. So for the last 24 years, we've been developing stores just like them for people that want to get into this business but can't own one of those stores. So, and then to expand on your question, our dollar only store is very, very similar to a Dollar Tree. You have every product sells for $1 across all the different categories. Then we have a Dollar Plus store format, which is, again, very similar to a Family Dollar or a Dollar General. However, in our Dollar Plus stores, we have many more items that still sell for $1. If you've been in a Family Dollar or a Dollar General lately, they have very little product that sells for $1. We have more of that, and we do that by design because we know that that dollar price point is still magical to your customers. So we want to make sure that they're going to find all the key items that they buy at $1 in your store. Then we expand the categories uh, to higher retails to offer more assortment for that customer within each category. But we want to make sure they always still retain the excitement of that dollar only merchandise purchase. Um, then
Uh,
we have two new
sorry,
formats. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
sorry to interrupt, but the other question that comes to my mind is, do you have uh, dollar stores in the Kansas City area somewhere that I can go and just take a look at it to get an idea?
I do not
Or
know as we sit here now, but if you can give me your name and number, I'll check tomorrow and I'll give you a call back.
I sure can ping you. I'll send you a direct message.
Okay, very good. Please do so, and I'll get back with you tomorrow.
Sure.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Question.
Yes, go ahead.
Question. Yes, I missed out on the little piece where you mentioned when you were talking about the EBT program,
Yes.
and you mentioned New Jersey, New York. I missed that little part. So can you kindly tell me what that was?
No, actually,
Thank you.
I was just saying we were talking about merchandise suppliers, and what I was saying is
Oh,
I just used New York and New Jersey as kind of an example. Um,
okay.
And what I was saying is that if you if you have an independent store owner in New York or New Jersey, they can pretty much only buy from suppliers right around them because they can't afford to bring the
Oh,
merchandise in from a greater distance. But with our program, with our network of suppliers, if you have a store in New Jersey, you can buy product from suppliers in the Southeast, from Houston, from Chicago, even from Southern California, because we have caps on the freight. So it's a huge advantage because you can have product in your store that your competitors cannot have. They can't afford to buy it. That's kind of what I was getting at.
wait, wait. I, cleared it up for me again. I still miss a little part. When you first said if you're in New York or New Jersey.
Okay.
I get this last part. Yes, please. Thank you.
It doesn't have to be New York or New Jersey. The point is wherever
Yes.
wherever your store is, Uh,
Mhm.
the other stores around you, the other independent owners, can only buy from
Mhm.
suppliers right where you are. But
Oh, okay, got
you
you,
can buy
got
from
you,
many other suppliers, so you can have products that
got
your
you,
competitors don't have. That's kind of what I was getting to. I didn't do a very good job.
got
I
you.
apologize.
Thank you for. No,
Hey,
no, no, no,
can
no.
I ask you
You're
a
very
question?
good.
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to ask, did you guys ask about any minimum cash on the front, or there is no minimum cash? How
There-
the system working with that?
okay. It kind of depends. The answer is generally no. There is no minimum. Uh, what would happen is if you decide to make your application a deposit, and say you want to do a 1,000 square foot store. So it's going to be 76,900. Then you'll need some working capital. So maybe you need in total about $85,000. Let's just use that number. Most often, you can get financing from one of our lenders for all of that, so you would not have to have anything down. But if a lender comes back and says, "Gee, I can only get you $70,000 on a loan for whatever reason," uh, then you would have to come up with the difference. But most often, our lenders rather can get you up to 100% financing, including that working capital. So most often
Okay.
you wouldn't have to come out of pocket
Uh-huh.
for anything.
Yeah, okay. Let's say we spend 80,000 and I get finance up to 80,000, then I didn't pay anything. How they will do the payment is like how many percentage? How that working
Okay.
after
That
that?
that's a
Yeah.
question that's a question that I can't answer because every person's credit profile is different. So the lender that you ultimately work with and the interest rates and so forth are going to vary quite a bit. So the only way to really get that answer for you is to do that application deposit, and you'll know within 48 hours how much funding you qualify for and what the terms are, what the interest rate is, how long you have to pay it back, and so on. And then you decide if you want to go forward or not. And if you do, that's great. If you don't, we just refund your deposit and we go our separate ways.
Okay.
I
Okay.
have a
And
question about the
uh,
deposit.
Hold on just 1 minute. Did you have a follow-up question, sir?
yeah. After let's say I get accept my application and they give me finance up to 75,000, then I said, okay, let's go forward. Now the next step, I have to find the location, right?
No, we do that
That's
for you. That's part of our program. You would move
oh,
into
okay.
our real estate department. We find the locations. You pick one to approve it, and we negotiate the lease for you.
Okay.
Can we make a suggestion of where we would like to be if it was vacant?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. When you when you come into real estate,
I
you
can't
tell
hear.
you tell us okay, I live in Glendale, California, just an example, and I'm willing to go into these 5 surrounding areas. So we start to look for locations where you tell us to look. We don't tell you where your store should be. You're going to tell us, and then we go to work for you.
What would you
Okay.
say a nice size uh, rental would be? You know, just as a startup, not even just saying 1,000 to be safe, but what would you say since you've been in the business to have a good nice supply of and variety of items? What would you say is a good size store?
A good size store. It, you know, my answer is always going to be that every store size works well in the right location. Um, I mean, in a perfect world, if with me, I'd want to do a store of about 2,000 square feet for my first store, but that doesn't mean 1,000 square feet or 1,500 square feet can't be great. Um, it's our job to find a location where that store can do well, and that's what we do.
With
So are you
1,000
saying that?
square feet.
Are you saying like even if you take a smaller store, if it's smaller size store in a good location, it could still do well? Or do you find that they eventually
Oh,
want to expand?
yeah, okay, that's a very good question. One thing that we can always do when we negotiate a lease is Say you're going to do that 1,000 square foot store. We will negotiate with the landlord for something that's called the right of first refusal. And what that means is if another larger space in that shopping center becomes available or a space next to your space becomes available, the owner has to offer it to you before he puts it out on the market. So you always have that option. So say you're in your 1,000 square foot store, you're doing really, really well. You say, gee, I wish I had another excuse me, another 1,000 square feet. And one comes up next to you, the landlord has to offer it to you before he offers it to the general public.
What if it's just somewhere on the lot, but not necessarily next to you? Is that still fall under the right of first refusal?
Yes, we would negotiate for that. Absolutely.
I have another question. Can I ask?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So, do you have the general idea, like with the 1,000 square feet, what the average the owner make on the 2020?
Okay, we kind of answered that question earlier, but let me go back through it very quickly. If you're going to do a dollar plus store, your average cost of goods is 50% of retail. So your gross margin on product is 50%. Then, until you really have a location in front of it, it's hard to answer that question. Every answer I give you is going to be wrong. But let's say, for example, last year, Dollar General reported annual sales per foot of about $237 a foot. Dollar Tree reported sales of just under $200 a square foot. So if we say maybe you'll generate $190 per foot in your 1,000 square foot store, that's going to be $190,000 in annual sales. Your gross profit on that is going to be about $80,000, half, because it's 50% of your cost of goods. And then from that 80,000 would come your, I'm sorry, not 80,000, 90,000. My apologies. 95,000. From that would come your rent and your utility costs and those other minor expenses, and then the net would be your profit. But what we do is, as I mentioned earlier, as we're looking for locations and we get to the final rent and so forth for location, I can help you do a worksheet for that specific location to see what that store might generate for you before you ever sign a lease.
Okay. Okay. And you said you guys gonna give me a couple locations, then I choose one of these. How you guys gonna know this location is gonna work? How, do you guys have any like any idea if this location is gonna be work or not?
Well, yeah, what we do is the first thing, we look at every available location where you wanted your store. Then we eliminate the ones that we believe would not work, either because there's a competitor too close, or there's no traffic, or it's not a good location within the center, uh, or the asking rent is way too high. So we eliminate a lot of locations that you'll never see. Then we let you look at, or we have you look at, the locations that we believe are viable, that have merit. And you look at them and you say, yeah, I like this one, or I don't like this one because of this, and we talk through those things. And then we negotiate on every one that you and we agree are worthy of moving forward on. And then we get to the final set of numbers for each, and then we'll help you compare one versus the other. So by the time we get to that point, we've eliminated a lot of locations, and we're down to the ones where we know the rent is favorable, there's no competition too close, there's lots of vehicle traffic, lots of population, the average household income is where we want it to be. There are a lot of variables that we look at to get to that point with you.
Okay, okay, that makes sense.
Very good. Any other
I
questions?
have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
One. So is the 2,000 square feet pretty standard with, with coming big new?
You want to grill?
I'm sorry, I didn't get all that question. Could you ask it again, please?
I said, so is the 200 square foot pretty standard for someone starting out?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say probably in any given year, at least a third of the stores that we develop are 1,000 square feet, and then the rest are all various sizes. So 1 to 2,000, yeah, is very good for a store because it lets you learn the business. and understand it, and then you'll know when you go to expand or do a second store, you'll know what size you may want to target. And maybe that store size is fine. It's generate nice income for you. The work is good, and so you like it and you stay with it.
May I ask
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
What happens during the holidays when you get items like Valentine's cards, Mother's Day cards? What happens with those items when you have overage?
Okay, good question.
And you, okay.
Okay, the first thing that I would say is in your first year as you're going through the calendar for the different holidays, our merchandise manager here is going to work with you and she's going to make sure that you're buying basically for a sellout or a sell through. Um, and we do that for a couple of reasons. We want to make sure first that you don't have any carryover, or if you do, it's very minimal. And then what we have you do is in training, we teach you how to take seasonal notes. So you're going to be taking counts. Let's use Valentine's Day as an example. So Valentine's product goes out on sale really the day after Christmas, or as your Christmas is selling down, New Year's and Valentine's is going out on the shelves. So usually about the 1st of January, we're going to have you take counts each week on all your Valentine items. So you see how they're selling, and you may see that, oh golly, these candy hearts sold out by February 2nd. I could have sold another 12 dozen of these. So you make that seasonal note. So next year, when you're buying your candy hearts, you're going to increase your order because you know you missed the best 10 days or so of sales for that item. And so really what you're doing is in the first year, you're putting yourself in a position to do extremely well in your seasonal buying and sales the next year and then every year after that. So we tend to be very conservative in holidays and seasons in the first year because we don't know how your
Okay, I
store
remember
customers are going to
I was
respond.
in. Okay, I went to um, Dollar Tree, for example, and they had a lot of Valentine's cards clearance, but they wouldn't sell them. They said they were going to go back, but they still had them. But I guess the way that the system, because I kept seeing them and I kept asking the manager, could I purchase them? However, he said no because the system uh, put the price back down to 1
Gotcha.
cent.
Yeah, no, I understand. Okay, greeting cards are a good example. Greeting cards are the one item that are seasonal that you can return. There's usually like a restocking fee of about 10% of the cost. So
Okay.
greeting cards, I usually recommend you overbuy a little bit because you can return them if you choose to. The other product, you do
Okay.
have to carry it over. There are no return privileges for those items. So we're a little bit more cautious in year one. And quite honestly, it's uh, the carryover is usually not a big issue. You just keep it in the stock room and bring it out next year along with your new product, and it goes right out the door. So, and the other thing, when you're doing your seasonal counts, if you find an item, and you will, you may find an item that for some reason is just not responding in your store at all. So you may want to move it to another location, maybe put it up near the checkout, see if you can get the sale energized. Or you may want to take a little bit of markdown in the season. It's always better to take a small markdown in the season than to take a 50% markdown after the holiday. So like often, I used to do this in my stores because there's always a couple items that for some reason or another just don't respond. So if they're dollar items, I would say I'm going to sell them at 3 for $2. I'll put a little special sign on them. So 3 for $2 instead of $1 a piece. My cost on that is if they're 50 cents cost, it's $1.50. I'm getting $2. I'm still making money, and I'm going to get out of the item. I don't have to look at it next year. So in-season markdowns, when you have to take them, are always better than after-season markdowns because then you have to give the product away or pack it away.
And when you do the store, when it's what do I want to say? When you kind of printing it out, how you the setup,
Mhm.
is there do you try to make room for an office space or a little small storage space or anything like that
Yes and yes.
in the building?
Yeah, normally we try
Okay.
and have the office space within the stock space, so it's all off sale in the back room. You don't need a lot
Okay.
of office. You really need a desk, and a drop safe, and maybe a couple filing cabinets. You want to spend most of your time out on the floor, but you do need that. Yeah, so we work that into the design always. And you always will be approving those designs, both the fixture plan and the back room, before they're finalized.
I have one more
And
question for you.
Yeah,
The
go ahead.
question is,
I'm sorry.
your inventory management system, is it automated or manual? How do you keep track of what is low, what is high, what is gone, what is...
It is manual, and it's a hand system. And we set up a check and order schedule, so each week you're checking 1/4 of the suppliers you use in your store. It's actually very simple to execute, and we spend a lot of time in training going through how to make that work.
Did you say
I
there's
have a question.
a
You want to know
paging
for a
system?
1,000 square foot, how many employees do you need for that store?
For which size store? I'm sorry.
I think you said 1,000 square
Okay.
foot.
Yeah, so let's talk about the 1,000 square foot store. That requires 74 work hours per week to adequately staff that store. So that would mean if you as the owner are going to work the store and you're going to work, say, 45 hours a week, that means you would have to have 30 hours of part-time help each week. So not a lot of employees. In that case, it would be usually 2 or 3 part-timers.
Okay. And that's at the minimum wage? That's $15 an hour, right?
Depends on where you are. It would be minimum wage, whatever that is.
Okay.
Did you say that you do supply a paging system?
No, I did not. We do not.
Okay. Is that additional?
Usually you can get it through the phone system that you get for your store.
Okay.
Yeah, it's usually something that whoever provides the phones can add on very inexpensively.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. And clearly you are saying the 1,000 square feet, it's the owner can get about 80 to 90,000. So the 90,000 he have to pay, from 90,000 he have to pay the rent and the bill and also the employee, right?
That's correct.
So he's gonna end up about maybe 50,000. Does that make sense?
It's possible. As I say, we're not talking about a specific location, so any numbers, I would make life decisions based on the numbers we talked about tonight, because we don't know, right now we don't know where your store is, we don't know what it can generate. We're just talking very generally.
Okay, I see. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want you to do something or not do something because of numbers that we talked about on the telephone tonight, because whatever they were and whatever they are, they're not going to be accurate for you.
Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to get like the average idea,
I understand. And that's why.
Hello?
One second, ma'am.
Hello?
That's why. 1 second, please.
Hello?
I'm speaking to a gentleman, and that is the reason that we make our system so easy to, or the process rather, so easy to get started in. Um, you make your application deposit, you secure your funding commitment, we get you into real estate. You're not committing to anything all the way up until the point that we found the location, we've negotiated the lease, and then before you sign the lease, we can work the numbers for that specific store. Then you make the decision if you want to go forward or not. So, and that's why we do that.
Okay,
Because,
that's awesome.
yeah, because every location is different, every locale is different. So there's no way in the world you can make that hard decision today, and I would never ask you to. I wouldn't do it either. That's why the process is designed. Exactly. So
it's hard until we get to the point where we can choose the location, then we know how much we have to pay, how much we have to spend.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, then all becomes clear, and then we can figure out if that store works for you.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Then
Good.
from there, I can say yes or no. Yes.
That is correct. And if you decide, this isn't for me, we'll look for another location, or say, I think I don't want to do this anymore, we just refund your deposit and we go our separate ways.
Okay.
Thank
What
you
is
very
your
much.
name, sir?
My name is John LaFronz. I'm sorry, LaFronz.
I have a question.
So I didn't get the last part of that. I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So
first, when we get the loan after we've been approved by the lender, you talked about working capital. Does that loan cover the product, the first batch of product?
Yes,
And
because okay.
if it does, okay, awesome. So if it does, what is the average amount of time before you start restocking? Does it depend on the product, or yeah, I guess that's the question.
Uh, you're going to be rebuying your product based strictly on your sales. And that's going to tell you how much you need to rebuy in any given week. For example, if you did, use some easy numbers, if you did $1,000 in sales this week, and your average cost of goods is 50%, that means you sold $500 worth of merchandise at cost. So next week, you're going to want to place orders for at least $500 at cost to replace what you sold. And I always recommend that you buy a little bit more than you sold, so you're building your inventory. So maybe instead of the 500, you would buy $600 worth of merchandise at cost. So you've replaced what you sold and added $100. So you have more merchandise to sell than you did the previous week, which is always nice.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, yes, I have a question.
Yes.
Let's go ahead.
Yeah. How long is the lease for when you sign a lease?
Okay, good question. We try to negotiate a 3-year lease and some option periods on the back, like another couple of 3-year option periods. Sometimes the landlord will insist on a 5-year lease. So it's normally either 3 or 5. We try to get 3 always. Sometimes it's 5.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you saying the requirement hours is 75 hours for 1,000 square feet, right? So
Yes,
the
sir.
owner, he has to spend 40 hours, then the another 35, he has to hire at least another 2 employees just part-time.
Yes, that's correct.
And if the owner, he don't want to spend 40 hours, he can add these hours to these 2 employees. Does that make
Sure.
sense?
Sure, or hire a third part-timer. Whatever, you know what? Yeah, whatever makes sense.
Yeah, and you don't have to provide health insurance, right?
Do
No
not.
requirement?
That is correct.
Okay. Okay.
And they can
I
be
have a
minimal.
question.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Just on that same vein that he's discussing. So when it comes to your employees, you do part-time. Do you get any kind of human services support as well? Human resources, I guess is the question.
Yeah, in training we cover human resources activities. Hiring, terminating,
Okay.
training. Yeah,
Okay.
there's a pretty big component of that for sure because it's very important.
Okay. Thank you.
So on, you bet.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
After we get the loan, how long does it take for us to start paying back, like after everything is done?
I'm sorry, that was kind of hard to hear. Could you start again, please?
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Can you re-ask that question?
Yes, my question was, after we get the loan and everything is set up, how long does it usually take us to start paying back the loan? And for 1,000 square foot, for example, like by your experience, how much do you pay back?
So when do you, just so I'm clear, question is, when do you start paying back the loan, or how long does it take to pay back?
No, when do you start and how much for, like, let's say for 1,000 square feet, how much do you pay back, for example?
Well, how much you pay would depend on how much you borrowed. And those are hard questions to answer as we sit here, because it depends on the lender that you end up working with, what their terms are, and so on. It's a hard question for me to answer. But we would know that if you do your application deposit, as I say, we'll know within 48 hours, and you will know within 48 hours, what you qualify, what the terms are, what the monthly payment is, and so on.
How much is the application deposit?
It's $500, and it's fully refundable. If you can't get financing, you get the deposit back. If you go into real estate and We can't find a location, you get your deposit back. If you end up
Okay.
building a store, we apply that deposit to the purchase price of the store, so you never lose it.
Okay, good.
Can you purchase through your LLC?
You can, we can do the store purchase agreement through the LLC, but the loans typically are based on individuals' credit, so you couldn't do a loan through a corporation or an LLC.
Once the store is open, what are our responsibilities on a day-to-day basis?
Opening and closing the store, taking care of your customers, buying merchandise, keeping the store neat and clean, basic retail.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
It sounded so much harder when you said everything. It's
everything.
I can tell. When you break it down to little pieces, it sounds so much better. But
right.
What I can tell you is, as I mentioned earlier, I don't know if you were on the call. I had my own stores for many years, and what I can tell you is that this is an easy business to run, and I had to learn via the School of Hard Knocks because I didn't have a company to work with. I kind of did it all on my own, and I worked in retail, so I wasn't like a novice 100%. But this business a little bit faster, it's a little bit different. But I will tell you, it's fun because it is fast, and there's nothing more exciting. There's nothing more exciting than finding an item and looking at it and say, man, I could sell a lot of this widget, whatever it is. So you buy it and you bring it in and you build a nice display on an end cap and you open the store and people are excited about that item and you're talking about it. You know, everybody that comes through the checkout, hey, did you see that widget? We just got those in. And they go, oh, no, I didn't. Let me go look. And here comes a widget up to the counter. And it's like instant gratification. You can see, man, I did a good job. I bought a great item. It's got great value and people love it. And it's the most exciting part of the business for me is making that good buy, watching it go out the register, seeing the customers excited about, talking to your customer, saying, you know, what didn't you find? You know, have you found everything you're looking for? And they say, no, I'm looking for this. You know what, Mrs. Jones, I'm going to find that item, and when you come back, I'm going to have it in the store for you. And it's so exciting because when Mrs. Jones comes back and she sees you found that 5-inch by 7-inch gilt edge picture frame that she was asking about, she's going to tell 50 of her friends, man, I went into that store and I just wanted a picture frame and I didn't see it. I came back a week later and they found it, and now I have it on my bureau at home. So there's nothing more exciting than the merchandise piece of it. It makes everything else so much easier.
I have a
Can I ask
question.
a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Which one?
Did you guys require what time I have to open and what time I have to close, or the owner controls the time?
The owner will make those decisions. Typically, you want to, and we talked about this earlier. You probably were not on the call or missed it. Typically, you want to match the hours that your shopping center stores are open. You know, usually it's like 8 to 8 or 9 to 9, Monday through Saturday. Shorter day on Sunday, 9 to 5 or 10 to 6. And then you take readings every hour so that you can see what hours you're doing the most sales in, because you may want to open a little bit earlier or a little bit later. But generally, it's not set in stone. It's what makes the most sense for your business. There's a young lady.
Can you give
Young lady had a question. Go ahead.
I do. Can you give an example of what a one-time package to your company would be on a 2,000 square foot store?
What a 2,000 square foot store would cost?
What the package price that we would pay you?
Okay.
Your company.
Okay, a 2,000 square foot dollar only store would be 1019.
Oh, okay.
And all these prices and what's included in each store size is on our website. So if you go to dollarstoreservices.com, just click on pricing and everything is there for you.
So the $500 would be towards the 101. The $500 deposit.
Yeah, towards whatever store size you ultimately buy.
So you deduct that from the price?
Yes.
So it's not 76,900. It'll be 76,400.
That's correct.
Okay, got it.
And just a quick question,
Yes, sir.
just to piggyback off of what the miss was saying earlier. So the 101,000 that includes the price to actually build the store as well.
Just set up the store.
So to set up a store, gotcha. So you said we're going to be paying for a lease on a retail land. Is that so? We have to pay the 101,000 plus the price for them to build the property. I think that's what we're trying to figure out right now.
Okay, no, well, let me clarify that. We look for spaces that you can lease, existing spaces. We don't want to have you build something. So we find a lease space in a shopping center.
Okay, so you guys negotiate the lease.
Correct. And then the 1019, in this case, if it's a 2,000 square foot store, that includes the work that we do to help you get financing. It includes all the work that we do to find a location. Then once you approve a location or locations, it's the work we do to negotiate the lease for you. If the lease is acceptable, then you sign it. Then we train you. Then we schedule our crew to go out and set up your store. We ship in all the fixtures and the merchandise and the interior signage and all the other equipment that's required. Our crew is there. They receive it. They completely set up and stock the store, and then you're open for business.
And then just to go into that real quick, I'm sorry not to be rude.
Sure. No.
Who's paying that month's rent coming up after you open? Is that covered with the 101,
No.
or you automatically in that lease paying that rent the first month after the store's open?
No, the lease payments are your responsibility.
Okay, so then after the store, okay. Gotcha. So then you have to have a little extra on the side to cover some of the to cover your lease before you open.
Sure, and that's
okay.
That's a good question. What we do is once you're in finance and you've secured your funding, for example, you say, okay, I like the terms of this, it looks good. What we do is in finance, they will do a worksheet for you that estimates the funds that you're going to need, those working capital numbers. So say, for example, you're going to do 1,000 square foot store and it's 76.9. Then they're going to estimate what your first month's rent probably will be, and they always estimate a little bit high because they want to make sure that you have enough money on hand. And they'll estimate a little bit of money for some other expenses that you're going to incur, like a security deposit, the utility deposits for the phone and the power and whatever, and maybe some money in case you have to do something inside the store space, maybe clean the carpet or do a little bit of painting or whatever. So they'll estimate an amount for just working capital for you. So maybe they'll say, okay, to move into real estate and do that 1,000 square foot store, you're going to need the 76.9 plus another, say, $10,000 just to use the number. So you're going to need 86.9. You're only ever going to pay us the package price, the 76.9, but we want to make sure you have those other funds available so that when we do find a location and you approve it, you're ready to sign your lease and you've got your rent deposit funds available and so on. So that's how that process works. We want to make sure that you're ready to go forward when we go to work in real estate.
Right. Okay.
I have a question. So basically, with the lease that you just said, I thought you said a little bit earlier that you try to negotiate some leeway in there before the lease payment is actually due.
Yeah, and that is true. You're going to get a number of months of free rent, but you still have to put a deposit, which is equivalent to 1 month's rent. Just like when you rent an apartment, you have to give them like a deposit.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, normally there's 2, 3, 4 months of free rent that we negotiate for you.
Okay. Okay, so I have one more other question. Due to COVID, I don't think that anybody believes that it's going to go away anytime soon, and we're all trying to, prosper and open a business. Now, this is in a lease type situation. What if the landlord is not paying his mortgage and the business foreclosed, and then my business is in jeopardy? What about that? Do you guys search out to find out if that landlord is paying his mortgage in a timely fashion without jeopardizing me due to the fact that I'm going to be paying him rent on his property.
It's
Good. That was a good one.
That is a good question. And the leases protect you. I can't remember what the clause is called off the top of my head, and I apologize. But yeah, you are protected in that instance. If the landlord was to go into default, the rental payments go into like an escrow fund, so the tenants are protected. So yeah, in other words, if he defaults on his mortgage, you still continue to do business. You pay your rent into an escrow fund or something like that, and whoever's administering the bankruptcy or the foreclosure on the center continues to operate the center until it's resold or whatever ultimately happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very good question. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes. Go ahead.
So you saying you try to negotiate about a 3 month free rent or 2 months, for example. How about you guys on the first couple months? Did you help the new owner for something to pay back on the money, or did you guys provide any help on the first couple months?
Do we help you pay the rent? Is that your question?
No, not the rent, not the rent. Like on supply, on
The loan?
on
The
the
loan?
loan, on the loan. There's any help on the first couple months till the store start working out, or no?
No, there's nothing like that.
Okay.
So the first, that next month, or whenever we get the money for the loan, it comes due, it's going to be, the first payment's going to be due that next month. Is that correct?
Yeah, each that's a hard question to answer because each loan program is a little bit different. But typically, that month or a month after that is when they start.
You went out. What did you say?
Oh, I'm sorry. Each loan program is going to be a little bit different. It's hard for me to give you a specific answer, but generally, yeah, it would be the month after you open, or maybe 1 month after that. It's kind of hard to say.
Okay.
But you would know that certainly when you make the decision to use that particular lender.
But usually it's due, right?
Certainly usually the month after you open most often.
Okay. Got it.
Very good. Any other questions?
How can we contact you?
My direct line here, if you have a pencil, I'll give it to you.
I'm ready.
702 637 3389.
Okay, 702-637-3389.
Yeah, 637-3389. Yeah, call me anytime. If I don't answer, just leave a message and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can.
Okay, you're John LaFronz.
John LaFronz.
What's your email address?
It's are you ready?
Can you say your phone again? Your phone number? I'm sorry.
Sure. It's 702-637-3389.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. And my email, if anybody wants to jot it down, is John, John, dot LaFronz, LaFronz, at drssmail.com.
What's your position in the company?
I'm the general manager.
Excuse me, repeat your email again, I'm sorry.
Sure. It's, are you ready?
Yes.
It's John, John, dot LaFronz, LaFronz, at DRSS, that's like David, Robert, Sam, mail.com.
DRSS?
DRSS mail.
DRSSM, right?
DRSSMAIL.com.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Yes, any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
You can own more than one store, right, on the future?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no limit on how many stores you ultimately decide to open.
Okay. And you can hire people to cover the 75. You don't have to be there too.
That's correct. You can be absentee, and we can train you on how best to do that. A lot of our owners do that.
Yeah, that's what I see. Yeah, that's it. That's what it looks like. Most of the people doing it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, no problem at all.
Okay.
Okay. Any other
Sounds good.
questions? Yes, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got your number. If I have another question, I will call you.
Very good. Yeah, please do. I look forward to it. Thank you. Any other questions?
And
Thank you so much.
we are really appreciate your help. And if we fill the application tonight, we should hear back in 2 days, right?
Absolutely. And you'll probably hear from your rep at least tomorrow, so for sure.
Is the application on your website?
It is on the website, but it's really cumbersome, I'll be honest with you. It's almost better to call your rep here in the office, and they can do it over the phone with you. You can certainly do it online, but it's easier to do it over the phone, quite honestly.
How do I know who my rep is?
Okay, well, if you give me your name, I will have them call you.
It's Yaya Alim.
Okay. How do you spell Alim?
No, Yaya Alim. ALIM.
Okay. And what's a good phone number for you?
I'll text you. I'll text you. I'll text you right now.
Okay, very good. Yeah, text me the number, and then I'll have someone call you in the morning. Is there anybody else that needs to know their rep?
Yes, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. And can you give me your name and number, and I'll have them call you tomorrow?
Teresita Turner. I'll spell the first name. Turner's a regular spelling.
Okay.
It's T-H-E-R-E.
Okay.
S is in Sam, E, D is in David, A.
A, and Turner.
Teresita. T-H-E-R-E, S is in Sam, E-D-A, and that's 708.
708, what was this?
955.
Got it.
2396.
2396. 708-955-2396.
Right.
Very good. I'll watch for that. And I'll have someone call you tomorrow.
I used to live in Las Vegas, so.
Oh, is that right? You escaped. Good for you. You're in Atlanta now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Braves fan, so I should come visit you. We'll go to a game.
Right.
Very good. I look forward to working with you.
I have another question before you go.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Did he just ask somebody out? At work?
What was your question, sir?
Yeah. So you saying you guys gonna open on the future like $2 or $3? Is that make sense?
Yes, you're actually doing them now.
Okay. So like if we open dollar tree on the future right now, then later on we decide to add $2 or $3. Can we do that on the same store, or how does it work?
Yeah, absolutely. You just add the merchandise, and our staff can work with you to do that.
Everybody else, please mute.
Yeah, mute, please.
Yeah, if you don't have a question, please mute your phone and then unmute when you have the question so everybody can hear. Thank you. So yes, sir, you can add additional price lines anytime you want, and our buyers here can help you do that.
Okay, that's good. Okay, and if you, let's say, you open the store, then you decide to get out of business, you just have to sell it to someone, or how the thing works?
Yeah, you would advertise the store for sale, and then and just sell it. It's very easy.
Okay.
Very good. Any other questions? Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Speak to your company. Can you please speak to the success rate of your company
Sure.
on a whole? For
Good
example,
question.
there's an X amount of stores in which you have assisted in opening. The question more revolves around, based on percentage, how many stores are still open and running? But not
Okay.
only that, regionally, do you find that those stores are in the southeast, the northwest? Where are these stores? Granted, I know it depends on the location, rural, non-rural, things of that nature. But how can you speak to your companies as a success? Even though you've been having this many years, can you speak to that? Because there are
Okay.
some, conflicting information on the internet on your stores. I just want to hear it from the general manager where you stand. Thank you.
Sure. No, very good. Very good question. Let me start by saying, as we're not a franchise, um, most of the information we have regarding what stores. Excuse me. Could you please mute your phone so the others can hear? There's a lot of shouting there. It's really not conducive. All right, ma'am. I'll try and get back to your question. Are you there? Okay. Sorry about that.
Yes, I'm listening. Thank you. Okay.
So first is we're not a franchise. Stores don't have to report to us. They don't report their operational numbers. And once a store has been open for a period of time, most of the communication, quite honestly, is one way. They receive the product information, the supplier information from us, and unless they need something from us, very often we don't hear from that store for a good period of time. Every owner's independent. That's part of the reason that they didn't buy a franchise initially, and they decided to be more entrepreneurial. So we don't get a lot of hard numbers. What I can tell you is that anecdotally, I would say over a 3-year span, there's probably maybe a 10% fallout in stores that either don't renew their lease or for some reason don't go forward after that initial lease term. Usually the reasons, when I talk to owners that opt not to renew a lease, the reasons are usually all clustered around the same thing. Sometimes an owner may choose a location that, and this happens from time to time, a location that we just can't endorse. Maybe they want a location where the rent is a little too high, but they like it. So we'll try and counsel them not to do that. Or they pick a location that's not as strong as another because it's a few cents less in rent per foot, and we may counsel them against that as well. But ultimately, those decisions are the owner's decisions. Sometimes I even go so far as to do what I call a site exception letter, where I'll send the owner a letter that says, I know you really are focused on location A, but for these reasons, we can't endorse that location for you, and I'll spell them out. Maybe the competition's too close, maybe the rent is just too high, whatever those things might be. Often that gives the owner pause, and we'll talk some more, and they may decide not to go forward. And sometimes they go forward anyway. And again, they're independent owners; those are their decisions. So we do the best job we can of negotiating the lease for them. But sometimes it ends up being a bad decision. So location is a factor in some of those situations. Another key, and it's always interesting, is that there's always a percentage of people that have never owned a business before. And while I mentioned earlier, and I'll say it again, it's a very simple business to run, but it is a business. And some people are just not wired that way. If they've never owned a business of their own, they've never had the responsibility of making a payroll and being very diligent about showing up to work to run their store every day. I often tell people, if your expectation is that you're going to come in Friday and box up the money, not a business for you. In fact, no business is for you. You have to devote the time and energy to build your business, and some people are just not wired that way. And then the third reason is that I see very often is that people, some owners, no matter how, I don't know what the right word is actually, no matter how strictly, we encourage them to stay within the supplier network because we know they're going to get the best possible pricing. We'll see owners from time to time that say, "Well, I don't want to order from this supplier because they have a $500 minimum or a $1,000 minimum. I want to go to a local supplier here where I can spend $300 or $400. Now I know I'm going to pay 15 cents an item too much, but I'd rather do that small order." Well, that's a recipe for disaster because that 15 cents sometimes is the difference between your store making money and not. Um, so those are bad decisions. The other thing that I've seen owners do, and I was in a store about a month ago, and I saw this, and I looked at the store, and I went to the gift bag wall, and the owner was having a rough time with sales, so I happened to be there, so I said, let's look at some things. So we looked at his gift bag wall first, and it was very full, very colorful. He had a lot of bags, and I said, where are the gift bags geared to men? And he looked and he said, "Well, I don't have any." I said, "You've got a lot of rose decorated bags. You've got a lot of feminine looking bags. You've got a lot of bags geared to children. You don't have a bag for a man's gift." And last time I looked, men are 50% of the population, pretty close.
Not cool.
You know. So then we went to the greeting card rack, and we're going through greeting cards again. The rack was nice and full. I could see a lot of the pockets were not full of the cards that should be in them. So we're looking at that, and I started straightening a little bit, and we found there was no first birthday cards at all. They'd filled the pocket with something else. There were no happy birthday wife, no happy birthday sweetheart, no anniversary cards. So I'm looking at this, and I said, here are two categories, just two, that pay a better than average margin. Gift bags cost you about 25 to 35 cents, and you sell them for $1 all day long. I said, and you're missing 50% of the sales, 50% of the sales just in gift bags because you're not doing a good job of checking. You're just walking the store. So I have gift bags. I don't need to order those. Well, you do. And the same thing with the greeting cards. You know, you're missing key items that probably represent 30, 40% of the sales, and you don't have them because, in a nice way, I said you're kind of lazy, but I didn't say that. But the point I'm trying to get to is you have to order the store based on facts, not based on your vision. You really have to dig in when you're ordering whatever category it is. You really got to order all of it. When you're ordering makeup, make sure you're getting the right colors in lipstick, that you're getting the colors in foundation and blush that you need, not just that the rack is full of something, and that goes for every category in your store. You go to your cleaning section, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but you go to your cleaning section, you may have all the cleaners in the world, but where are the handy wipes? Where are the sponges? Where are the scrubbers? Those are the items that pay the better than average margin, and people will buy them if you have them. So you don't want to just sell them a can of Comet. You want to sell them a pack of sponges, too, that you make a 60% gross on. So, that's what I often see. People, they choose to take the easy way out in terms of buying from a local supplier, and they are not diligent about ordering their store. And if you're not going to order the product for your store, don't have one. It's the most important job that you have. So that's what I can tell you. And I've seen some things on the internet from time to time where people say that the cost of goods is too high. What you want to achieve is an acceptable average cost of goods. You have to have paper towels, and they cost more. You don't make the margin that you do on other items on there, but you can offset that by having the sponges and the handy wipes. So together, that sale gives you an acceptable average cost of goods, and that's what you got to strive to achieve. And as a merchant, that's what you do. When you go into your grocery store, where's the milk? It's way at the back of the store because you got to walk through all the higher profit items to get there. And as you go down the aisles, what's hanging off the shelves every 8 feet? Kitchen gadgets, handy wipes, whatever. Because those are the items that you didn't know you needed, but you're buying them, and they pay a better than average margin, so it enables the grocery store to sell the milk that they make no money on. So I hope that kind of answers your question. I'm sorry?
These are some of the things you go over in training, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How long are the training videos? in terms of hours? How many hours of training videos? You said there's several.
I think the videos all told probably like, I don't know, 6, 7 hours, something like that. And they're broken up. You can watch them at your leisure. It's really easy.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So you're saying when you provide the 3 location for the new owner, and then the owner he's gonna choose which location. Let's say the owner choose location A, and your decision say location A is not gonna work good, and you are not going to endorse it. So like you are going to tell the owner this is too much money here, you're not gonna make a lot of money. If what is different if you endorse this location or if you are not? What's different?
Well, in most cases, the locations that we put up for you to review are locations that we can endorse. What happens sometimes is somebody may see a location, they say, "Hey, can you check out this? I really like this spot." It happened to me today with a client, and they had first the location was twice as big as they needed. So I said, "Why do you want this? It's 2,000 square feet. You're looking for 1,000 square foot store." "Well, I really like it. So can I rent it and just do the 1,000 in it?" And I said, "You can do whatever you want, but you're going to pay rent on 2,000 square feet. You're only going to get sales from 1,000. Not a good decision." So we're going to have another conversation tomorrow. So to answer your question, the locations that we put up and negotiate are locations that we feel good about, or we wouldn't have presented them to you in the first place. But sometimes, somebody brings their own to the table, and we have to review those as well. That's our job.
Oh, okay, okay. And let's say the customer he asking about some item and you guys don't have it. There is I cannot get it from like how you guys deal with that. Let's say the owner he wanna order something, then you guys don't have it. Or that's not gonna happen.
It would be very rare that one of our suppliers doesn't have an item that somebody's looking for. It would be extremely rare. Um,
Oh,
but if that happens, you get a hold of your representative here in our office, your wholesale person. They will help you find that item.
oh, okay, okay.
Any other questions?
Yes. What time is the meeting over?
When we run out of questions.
Okay.
It's entirely up to you. I have no control over that. And as I mentioned earlier, you might not have heard, but this is for everybody. We're going to, and we always do this, early next week, probably Tuesday. We'll send out a recording of this event tonight, so everybody will get it. So if you want to go back and listen, or you joined late, or had to leave early, or whatever those things might be, you'll have that recording certainly to refer back to. And you can always call me.
And you
Yeah.
and you guys saying if somebody apply the application, they will get 2,000 free merchandise, right?
That's correct, when you open your store. And thanks for bringing that up
Oh,
again. I want to remind everybody, and as long as you do your application anytime between now and Wednesday, next Wednesday, when you open a store, you will get that $2,000 in additional free merchandise.
oh, okay, okay.
And I got a question. So
Yes, sir.
what's the difference between the $1, $2, $3 store and the dollar plus?
Okay.
Yeah, one, two, $3.
Yeah, the 1, 2, 3, nothing sells for more than $3. In the dollar plus, the retails can go higher. And we, of course, custom write the merchandise orders for each store. So you may want to expand electronics or sporting goods or housewares or linens. So we work with you to expand the categories that you want to go after more specifically. And we're not locked into that $3 price point and a dollar plus. We can go higher. That's the difference.
Okay, and one more question. So
Yep.
say I did want to visit one of these establishments in my area. How would I be able to do that?
What you have to do is give me a call, and you'll have to let me know where you are, and I'll see what stores we have close to you.
Okay, and you're 637-3389, correct?
Yeah, area code 702.
Gotcha. Okay, appreciate it.
What was your name, sir?
Quentin.
Quentin. All right, I'll watch for your call.
Another quick question.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, let's say we decide to open a Dollar Tree and later we want to add $2 and $3, and how much we have to pay? Because right now it's gonna be 76,000, right, for 1,000 square feet, right?
Yes, sir.
So, and if we decide to do like $2 or $3, how we gonna pay the difference? How is gonna be?
Well, once you're open, you're buying merchandise from our suppliers, and all of our suppliers have product that sells for more than $1. So you would just add it to whatever orders you're placing. Very easy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very simple. You may want to say, okay, I just want to buy a couple $100 in nicer electronics, some nicer earbuds and maybe some nicer cell phone accessories or whatever. Just add it to your basic order for electronics, and you put that out and sell it. Maybe next time you order linens, you might want to say, I'm going to get some nicer towel sets and so forth, so I'll add those. It's very easy. You do it incrementally at your pace. It's not like you have to make a big conversion. Yeah, it's really easy.
Okay.
Very good. Any other questions?
The state tax, the federal tax, that's gonna go out every month, or it's gonna be in the end of year?
State tax, the sales tax, you're collecting for the state. So that most states you do a sales tax return every month. Because if you're charging, say your sales tax in your community or your state is 7%, you're collecting that money, but it's not yours. It's got to go to the governor. So you do a tax return each month for sales tax, and you remit that money to the governor. The federal tax is like basically your business income tax, and you only have to really do it annually. But most businesses will file like a quarterly return, so it's not such a big job at the end of the year. But your accountant can better answer those questions for you than me.
Okay.
Good.
Do I need to hire someone for that job?
You can. There's a company that a lot of our stores use. It's called ADP, Automatic Data Processing, and they provide all those services very inexpensively. In fact, they'll even do your payroll if you want them to do that. So somebody like that is good because they know in your state what the requirements are, what the forms are. They do it all for you. It's pretty inexpensive. Or you can hire a local bookkeeper to do that work for you. Either way, it's not a very big expense, and it's peace of mind kind of to know it's being done properly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Very good. Any other questions?
And
yes, go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Let's say I did my application today, then you guys give me proof tomorrow. How long the process will take until I open the store?
Okay, very good question. So if you got your financing lined up, say by Monday or Tuesday, because tomorrow's already Friday, we would move you into real estate, start looking at locations, and the real estate process is the one part of our program that I don't like to rush. It's very important to find the best possible location, as I'm sure you would agree. But as a general rule, it probably takes us about 30 to 45 days from the start in site location to where you have a lease ready to sign. That's pretty average. Can be quicker, can be a little bit longer. Again, I want to make sure that we see everything there is to see. And then about another 30 days to get your store open. So call it 60 days from start to finish, maybe a little bit more or less, but about that.
Oh, okay. Can you build?
Can you build like from the ground up?
Mm-hmm.
You certainly can, but we don't provide financing for that. So you would have to get a loan through a local bank and buy the ground and then build a building. I always recommend, quite honestly, at least for your first business, to lease rather than build. And there's a couple of reasons for that. We mentioned earlier, we touched on it earlier. You may not know what size is the best size for you. And once you build a building, you're kind of stuck with it. But if you lease a space in a community where you want to have your business, you may say, maybe you lease a space for 1,500 square feet. And a year or two in, you say, boy, my business is so good, I could use another 1,000 or 2,000 square feet to really maximize what I'm doing. So then maybe it's the logical time to start to look for a building to buy or to build, because now you know what you really want. Today, you kind of don't know.
John.
Yes,
I'd
sir.
like to piggyback off the question.
Yeah, go ahead, ma'am.
You spoke about X amount of days for someone to help look for a space. You have a department, I'm sure, that looks for leasing spaces depending upon where we are.
Correct.
Is it a company? I know you probably do the research on the internet, but do you have a nationwide company that really knows the market in various areas of the country, or is it just a LoopNet search of available space?
No, actually, what we do, LoopNet is a piece of it, certainly, but we have a staff here. We have a staff of site locators and leasing managers, and we work obviously all over the country all the time. So we've got pretty good relationships with brokers and property developers and so forth in pretty much every market that you could imagine. So the way that process works is, and I'll make it short, your project moves into real estate and you're in Atlanta, for example, and you want to do a 2,000 square foot store. So first we do a search and we identify all the locations available in Atlanta at 2,000 square feet, both on the internet and through our network of brokers that we have contacts with. So we get all of those locations. Then from those, we eliminate the locations that we know are not going to work. Maybe there's a competitor or competitor's too close, or the rent is way too high, or whatever those other reasons might be. So immediately we wash out quite a few locations that just we know are not going to work. Then the ones that we believe have merit and are worthy of your consideration, we upload into a special software that we have. So it's called EasyTrack. We developed it some years ago, and you will have full access to that website. And on it, there will be all the information about every location that we're presenting to you for your review. All the demographics, the population, the ethnicity, the household income, the population of 1, 3, and 5 miles, the traffic, a map of all the competition in the area, a map of the shopping center, if it's a shopping center, and so on. And then we'll ask, so you'll know everything there can possibly be to know about that location. Then we ask you to go out and visit it, because you're going to see some things that maybe we can't see. For example, is the center well lit at night? Is it well maintained? Is it a safe environment in which for your customers to shop and for you to operate your business, and so on? And if you come back and say, yeah, I think it's a location I would like to take a harder look at, then we make arrangements to get you inside the space so you can assess the current condition. We don't rely on the brokers to get us that information. We want you to see it. We'll have you take some photos and so forth, so that we know now what we have to negotiate for. We go back to the property owner, say, Mr. Landlord, we're going to need new flooring. We're going to need you to warrant the HVAC system for 12 months or 24 months. We're going to need paint on the walls, whatever those things. These walls have to come down. We need a stockroom wall back here. So we know what to negotiate for. And again, we don't rely on the local brokers for much other than access. We do all that work from here, and we've been doing it for any number of years now. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. It's a good question.
Yep, loved it.
John, can
yes,
I get
sir.
the number again?
It's 702-637-3389.
Okay.
I have a question.
702-637-3389.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Yes,
bye-bye.
you had a question?
Yeah. So I want to ask you about the Iowa State, on Iowa. How you guys doing on Iowa so far? The business going up?
So it's a tougher question for me to answer off the top of my head. The business generally is good everywhere. Iowa's a little more sparsely populated. Is that where you are?
Yes.
Where in Iowa? Ames or?
Des Moines.
Des Moines, okay. We'd have to look at that market to see, but I'd say there's probably more opportunity than many other areas because the development is just now coming online. So no, we take a hard look at that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll know very quickly.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, that's what I'm planning to Des Moines, somewhere in Des Moines.
Excellent. What was your name, sir?
Marwan, Marwan.
Okay. And in Des Moines. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. And what's your phone number, just in case I don't have it here? I'm sure I do, but just in case.
Yeah, 515 444
Okay.
6883.
6883. Okay, very good. Let me look at that. We'll get back with you.
Yep, that will be awesome. And really appreciate your help. I answered too many questions, and you give me all the answers I want.
There are never too many questions. My dad used to say the only bad question is the one you don't ask. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
that's why we're all here. So
Yeah.
he told me some other things too that I won't repeat, but that was one I remember. So any other questions? Well, very good. I thank everybody for their time. I don't know how many people are left on here, but I appreciate your time and your persistence. And if there was some confusion on the start time, I apologize, but we will be sending everybody the recording. You've got my number. Call me anytime or call your rep as well. And I look forward to having the opportunity of working with all of you, quite honestly. So.
Right.
Right.
Okay, have a blessed night. Thank you.
You guys too. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone's time. Have a great evening.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Let's build some stores.
Thank you.
Let's go to work.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye now.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
God bless.
Good luck, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
You as well. Good luck.
Bye, everyone.
Bless.
Thank
Bye.
you. All the best.
Bye, parents.
Bye-bye.
North America's largest developer of dollar stores. Over 4,000 businesses open nationally since 1993. For more information, visit our website at dollarstoreservices.com.